Okay, everyone, very good afternoon to one and all. A very good afternoon, everybody. I hope that all of you are able to see the lecture properly. And guys, in the previous lecture, we did the chemistry portion. And the last class PDF is yet to be uploaded. It will be done. Actually, the operations team, this one, they were just on the call just before I started this class. They were actually saying that they were unable to access my PDF, which was uploaded already due to some confusion. So the confusion has been made absolutely clear, and therefore they can upload it even within a half an hour, maybe not more than that, just within half an hour. So guys, today we will be talking about the bio portion. Okay, actually, let me tell you, when we say that why not more chemistry, then guys, the chemistry is actually the least important among all the subjects of science. And why bio today and tomorrow? Because bio is something that is most important in the subjects of, or among the subjects of science. So today as well as tomorrow, we will be doing this particular subject, bio. Tomorrow you will be having an extra class in the morning, right? Most probably from maybe from 8 to 10, not more than that. Okay, not more than that. Just 2 hours will be sufficient tomorrow for getting an extra session about the bio and physics, whatever is left. Okay. So what will be the topic for today? That we are going to cover the main topics, in fact, that we are going to cover. They are going to be quite significant number of topics here that we are going to see. First of all, we will be covering up the nutrition portion, all right? And subsequently, after the nutrition, we will understand the ecosystem. What is the meaning of ecosystem? What are the structures and all? Thereafter, we will see the food chain, food web, and thereafter the ecological pyramids, ecological succession. Okay, thereafter, we will see the nutrient cycles. Guys, there have been the questions in the past from these kind of topics, not very much in the numbers, but obviously some of them definitely were asked. After that, we will see the nutrients for the humans. Very important, in fact, amongst the most important topic. Human nutritional disorders, as well as the micronutrients, macronutrients, and the essential nutrients. Apart from that, we will see the basic physiological system of the digestion. However, I have added up few more components, like for example, the basic of digestive enzymes, etc., which are somehow possible to be asked. But after that, I would leave that to your discretion, whether you want to read if you have the time, or if you don't have the time, you just skip that part. Which part I'm talking about? I am talking about the human physiology. The human physiology is something that is not very popular among the aspirants of this particular examination. However, still we can learn about some details related to the physiology in case if you want to learn. I would say, as per my experience, this doesn't help much. There are hardly any questions from the human physiology, except barring some questions related to the hormones, or maybe the questions related to some essential enzymes, something like that, okay? Something like that. So I will just make a gliding touch. I will make a gliding touch of this particular topic. I will not try to go into any kind of detailing as far as these topics are concerned, because that will unnecessarily create the mess and confusion inside your brain. All right? After that, the heart and circulatory system, basically the cardiac system is there. Then guys, we have the blood vessels. Now this particular segment is the most important among the human physiology section, because the blood vessels, they have been the favorite topic of all the one-day examination as far as the science subject is concerned. They ask the questions from these kind of topics. So what is the blood? What are the veins, arteries, capillaries? What are the WBCs? What are the RBCs and all those things? Thereafter, we have the neurons. So the major points of neurons, like what is the axon, what is the dendrite, where do we find this brain, what is the diencephalon, what is the mesencephalon, right? Cerebrum, cerebellum, right? All these things we will discuss. Then guys, we have the excretory system, very basic system. Blood clotting, very important. Blood is the most important topic in biology, human physiology, particularly for one-day exams. The types of the blood groups, okay, blood groups, as well as the blood clotting. Okay, these are all significant topics. Got it? What happens, Susmita? Then guys, we have the classification of the blood cells as well as the blood groups. Thereafter, endocrine system. Endocrine system is related to your hormonal system, right? Hormonal system. And how many glands are there which secrete the hormones? You can see hypothalamus, pineal gland, pituitary gland, thyroid, pancreas, adrenal, thymus, testis, ovary. And guys, the endocrine glands and exocrine gland differences, then the major hormones secreted by the major endocrine glands, they are also crucial. Okay. Thereafter, we have some types of tissues and all that. Some types of tissues. Okay. Where happened? This. Connective tissues and nerve tissues. Guys, I have seen the question myself that they have asked the connective tissues. So which of them is an example of the connective tissue? That was the question. So here you can see the different kinds of connective tissues, including the tendons, bones, ligaments, fat, other things. Okay. And you can see the different types like the blood, cartilages, adipose tissues, right? All these kind of things. Then again, we have the diseases, different kinds of diseases. All right, different kinds of diseases. So this is what we are going to cover in today's lecture. In the next 3 hours, it will be a complete overhauling of your brain, because most of you might not be that much well-versed, might not be that much aware of these terminologies. However, some of you might be quite proficient as far as the knowledge about these kind of basic things is concerned, right? So let's get started. First of all, let us talk about the nutrition. Okay. Guys, what is the meaning of nutrition? So nutrition is basically the essential life process. The essential life process to provide the required materials to support the life activities. Isn't it? It's okay, Prathamesh, no worries, no worries. So what is nutrition? As I told you that we will be doing the science in very, very layman terms, because the examiner asks in that type of questions only. So nutrition is something which is the life process, and that provides the required materials to support the life activities through a systematic way of obtaining the nutrients. Okay. There is one more. Sadhvik says tomorrow class is on chemistry. Sadhvik, bio, chemistry, we are not going to do any more classes, man. One class, whatever is there, that is enough. I will provide you some, written material just for the sake of reference, in case if they ask you, the regular or routine kind of daily, everyday chemistries. Sometimes they ask it, like POP, cement, all these things, soap, etc. So guys, nutrition for the plants as well as for the animals, they are of different types. If we are talking about the plant nutrition, plants may be of the different kinds. Like for example, some of them are autotrophic, some of them are heterotrophic, and others are symbiotic. Okay, others are symbiotic. The meaning of all these: autotrophic, make their own food, make their own food. Phototrophic and chemotrophic. Phototrophic and chemotrophic, what is the meaning of that? So such plants which are capable of making their own food, they are called autotrophic plants, and they are of two types. Phototrophic means those plants which make the food in the presence of light or with the help of light, whereas the chemotrophics are those which prepare their food with the help of chemicals. Example, all the green plants, they are phototrophic, and the plants which grow in the difficult conditions such as the deep sea, or such as the volcanic craters, etc., or such as the underneath of the ice sheets, they are usually chemotrophic, and they make their food with the help of certain chemicals present in their system, right? Example, we have the mosses, we have the deep sea alga, right, and so many things. Got it? Then guys, we have the heterotrophic plants. What is the meaning of heterotrophic plants? Those plants which receive their nutrition from outside, okay, which receive their nutrition guys, here the term hetero indicates the different, means not from the self but from the different plants, okay, but from the different plants. There are two types of the heterotrophic plants, let me tell you. They are insectivores, okay, insectivorous and saprophytic. What is the meaning of insectivorous? Insectivorous are those basically which eat the insect due to nitrogen deficiency. Okay, everyone? Nitrogen deficiency is the reason because of which the plants like Venus flytrap, example, Venus flytrap, pitcher plant, etc. They are the ones which eat the insects, the bug eating. Yes, exactly, Prathamesh. Got it? Then guys, there are the saprophytic plants. Saprophytic plants basically means those eating the dead and decaying. Okay, they eat the dead and decaying matters. Okay, what kind of dead and decaying matters? So anything which is already dead, already decaying. For example, fungus. So fungus is an example of, even though it is not a plant, but apart from fungus, there are several small categories of plants, several kind of ferns, which actually grow upon the dead and decaying substances. But most common example of that is fungus. The mold, mushroom, and other kinds of fungus actually grow upon the dead and decaying things, right? And therefore they are saprophytic. Then guys, we have a third type of nutrition called as the symbiotic nutrition in the plants. Symbiotic nutrition means what? It means that mutually beneficial mode of collaboration So what is the symbiosis? Symbiosis is actually a kind of cooperative formation. Guys, this kind of cooperative formation basically exists in certain plants, like for example, angiosperms and fungus. The angiosperms and fungus, they create a kind of combination called as the mycorrhiza, right? Mycorrhiza, what is that mycorrhiza? Mycorrhiza is basically the fungus in the plants of the high end, like mango, neem, others. And they provide the soluble nutrients to the root threads of these higher plants, and they obtain the shelter, the habitat in the roots of these higher plants. Okay, so it is like I will scratch your back and you will scratch mine. Got it? So that is basically the symbiosis. And the plants actually, right, the plants actually exhibit the symbiosis in such a way, like they try to help the others and get something in the return. There is another example of the symbiosis. For example, the lichen. The lichen. What is lichen? The alga and the fungus. Right, the alga and the fungus, they both actually combine themselves together, and the fungus provides the space, alga provides the nutrition. Okay, this is called lichen. Together they are called lichen. Okay, everyone. So there are some examples of symbiotic association, like for example, lichen and alga. Oh, sorry. Lichen and mycorrhiza. Okay, mycorrhiza. Now, guys, if we talk about mycorrhiza, this is I. Okay. Apart from these three, there is another mode of the plant nutrition which is not mentioned here, but I will write it. And the third mode is what? The third mode is the parasitic mode of nutrition. Parasitic mode. Guys, can anyone among you give me an example of the parasitic mode of the nutrition in the plants? Anyone? Have you ever seen that cuscuta? There is a plant name called cuscuta. Okay, the plant name called as that absorbs or steals the nutrition of others and nutrition from other plants. Yes. So if you might have seen cuscuta, cuscuta is there. They are basically the kind of, this is a single T, man, this is not double T. They are basically a kind of parasitic plant. Rafflesia, yes, it is a kind of parasitic plant. Yes, Laurenthus, very good. So these are certain plants. You can count on several weeds as well as which grow upon the other plants, and they actually drain the nutrition of the other green plants, dry them up, and the other plants simply die because of these kind of parasites. Okay, everybody, so plant nutrition is there. Thereafter, we come to the animal nutrition. Animal nutrition. Among the animals we have the holozoic, saprozoic, parasitic, etc., etc. Guys, what is the meaning of the holozoic nutrition? Holozoic means basically those animals which eat their nutrition or their food with a proper digestive system. okay, with a proper digestive system. That means they have got the passage, the canal-like passage through which the food actually passes through, okay, through which the food passes through, and a complete process of ingestion, digestion, excretion, okay. In these three, you can also add up two more, like you can say assimilation and absorption, but theek hai, that's okay. So ingestion, digestion, and excretion, this complete process involved, and such kind of animals, such kind of animals are basically holozoic. We have the further three categories called herbivorous, carnivorous, and the omnivorous, okay. Get the nutrients, eating, intake, digest, and excrete. They could be divided into like herbivorous, carnivorous, omnivorous. Guys, we all are aware that what is the meaning of herbivorous, carnivorous, and omnivorous? No. So that means what? That means those which eat the greener plants. The carnivorous means those which eat the animals, and omnivorous means which eat everything. Okay. So they are basically the herbivorous, carnivorous, and omnivorous. Examples you are already aware of. Don't worry. Okay, you are already aware of. Okay. George is saying, can you just increase the speed? I can, but I will not. Okay. Then guys, saprozoic. What is the meaning of saprozoic? Saprozoic is something which, the kind of animal which eat the dead and decaying bodies. Okay, dead and decaying things. Like for example, we have the saprozoic, okay, saprozoic, they actually get the nutrition from such kind of, living beings which are already dead, They also help in the cleaning of the atmosphere, cleaning of the system, ecosystem. For example, the saprozoic can be further detrivorous, and apart from that, we have the scavengers. Okay, so two types of saprozoic animals are there. Detrivorous and scavengers. Guys, what is the meaning of detrivorous? Means those animals or those tiny creatures which just eat up the dead and dried up bodies, and they end up in completely absorbing the bigger size objects or bigger sized animals, I would say. For example, I would say the ants, right? Ants, or maybe the termites, or maybe certain bugs, maybe some worms. They are basically the detrivorous. They are basically the detrivorous. After that, the scavengers. These are the animals which actually consume the dead bodies and decaying bodies, but at a bigger scale, like the jackal, the dogs, okay, the hyena, and sometimes even the vultures and all that. So they are all scavengers. Okay. So saprozoic, basically we have detrivorous and scavengers. Then guys, we have the parasites. The parasitic mode of nutrition basically exists in two types, the endoparasitic and exoparasitic. Endo and ecto, what does it mean? Endo means inside the body. If the parasite lives within your body, then it's endoparasite. For example, we have the flatworms, we have the roundworms, we have the amoeba. All these are endoparasites. Ectoparasites, we already have mosquito, we have the lice, we have the bedbug. These are the ectoparasites. Okay. Shantanu says the organisms which eat the No. All the organisms, Shantanu, which eat the nutrition or which steal the nutrition of a healthy individual, they are called as parasites, which means that they live upon our body or within our body. They only use our nutrition but don't give us any kind of help or any kind of assistance. We cannot say that Escherichia coli is a kind of parasite. Why so? Because Escherichia coli or lactobacilli, they are such kind of bacteria which provide us with the useful things or useful functions. Whereas amoeba, Entamoeba histolytica, or maybe any kind of other bacteria which are pathogens, basically they are all parasites. They are all parasites. Okay, remember that. Now guys, I hope that all of you understood these different kinds of nutritional modes. Now from here onwards we have the ecosystem. The term ecosystem means what? The term ecosystem means a functional unit of ecology that is called as ecosystem. Okay. Can scavengers be called as the Holozoic? They eat and digest the dead. Dhruval, if you see theoretically, obviously they are Holozoic. But the Saprozoic animals are a distinct category because it also includes the detrivores, which are not essentially Holozoic, right? That's the reason, Dhruval. Now guys, the functional unit of ecology, right? And what is the ecology here? So ecology is something that we are saying, which involves your living and non-living. Okay. Living and non-living both come under the ecology, right? Right, ecology. Got it? Or simply the ecosystems. Ecology is the study of and this living and non-living beings, they are called as the ecosystem. In the ecosystem, what do you have? You have the different kinds of spheres, like hydrosphere, lithosphere, atmosphere, biosphere, right? Different kinds of spheres are there on the earth which collectively make up the ecosystem. And the ecosystem, if we study it scientifically, we call it as the ecology. Did you get the point? Yes. What is the biotic and abiotic component? Living components are also known as the biotic components. Non-living components are also known as the abiotic components. Clear, everybody? Thereafter, we have the different kinds of the ecosystems. Like, for example, the ones which exist naturally. They are terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. Guys, what is the meaning of terrestrial ecosystem? Which means the ecosystems based out of the land, right? And these ecosystems include the different kinds of the land ecosystem, like the tropical rainforest, like the montane ecosystem, like the grassland ecosystem, etc., etc. Got it? Anything which is on the land, that is terrestrial. Then comes the aquatic, means anything or any kind of ecosystem which is in the water. This includes your fresh water as well as the marine water ecosystem. The marine water ecosystem, that is there, but the fresh water ecosystem is of two types, the lentic ecosystem and the lotic ecosystem. Lentic ecosystem is basically the stagnant freshwater, like the ponds, the freshwater lakes, etc. And lotic, that is a kind of freshwater ecosystem which includes the running freshwater like the rivers. Okay, like the rivers. Is that clear, everybody? So we have the different kinds of the ecosystems. Natural ecosystems are of other types, like for example in aquatic we have two types, freshwater guys. Marine ecosystem itself is a kind of ecosystem which has several subtypes, like the shelf, rock shelf, basically continental shelf ecosystem. Then we have the deep sea ecosystem, and in marine ecosystem also we have your reef. The barrier reef is an example, the Great Barrier Reef. The reef rocks, basically they are different or distinct kind of ecosystems. So we have several artificial ecosystems as well. What are the examples of the artificial ecosystems? Those ecosystems which are the result or the outcome of the man's efforts. Okay, like the gardens, the artificial gardens which are created for the purpose of greenery, or for the your crops, your arcades, man-made ponds, aquaria, all these things, right? Exactly, zoo, aquaria, yes, exactly. So they are all the artificial ecosystems. Now guys, when we talk about the components of ecosystem, I told you already that we have the biotic and abiotic. I also told you that we have the several spheres. Like which spheres? So hydro, litho, and atmos, and biosphere. Okay, so all these are the different components of the ecosystem. Then guys, the structure and function. So structure, what do we have? Do we need to remember these terminologies? I would say absolutely no. We do not need to remember these terminologies. So what do we need to study about it? We need to study about the terms particularly, right? The terms particularly as the elements, like the structure of ecosystem can be expressed through the species compositor, then stratification, standing state. But the most important is something that I have explained here, that is decomposition. Guys, in the past they have asked the questions from the decomposition as well. They may ask the questions from the standing state, like what is the standing state? The amount of the inorganic substances, that is the standing state. Okay, that is the standing state. What is the stratification? A stratification is basically the layers, the vertical layers of the plants are stratification. Strata means the grades or the layers. Okay, guys, there is this term called as the decomposition. They have asked about the decomposition in the past as well. What is the meaning of that? Simple, the breakdown of complex into simple, that is decomposition. Okay, the breakdown of the complex things into simple things. Okay, so dead bodies of the plants and animals, etc., they are the complex organic compounds which break into the simple inorganic compounds like carbon dioxide, water, and other nutrients. That's called decomposition. Okay, as I told you that decomposers, that include the various kind of animals, like obviously fungus is one of them, bacteria is one of them, but some bigger animals like earthworms, they are also included into the decomposers. In fact, if we talk about those animals like millipedes, etc., that is also a kind of detrivores. Okay, then guys, we do not need to remember this process and all that. I have just added it because I use this also for the basics science. Okay, but more important term, that is food chain, and the second one is food web. What is the meaning of food chain? Guys, the sequence or the order of the different organisms in which they consume the food, or in which the food is passed from one level to the other level, that is your food chain. All right, which means that suppose there is grass, the green grass. Green grass is consumed by maybe a grasshopper. The grasshopper is consumed by maybe a small sparrow. A small sparrow is consumed by maybe a snake, and a snake is consumed by maybe an eagle, right? That is possible. So guys, ultimately we have this entire food chain beginning from the grass, then going to grasshopper, going to the sparrow, going to the snake, going to the eagle. Okay, that is the one. So these are the different trophic levels. What are these? These are the different trophic levels. So each level of the passage of the food and the nutrients, obviously, that levels are known as the trophic level or the level of the nutrition. Level of the nutrition. Okay, remember that. Adarsh ji, aquariums. Okay, I think you were talking about artificial ecosystem, right? Yes, message is showing now. Anyways, there guys, after that food chain, we have two distinct categories of food chains, like the grazing food chain as well as the detritus food chain. What is the meaning of the detritus food chain? Exclusively the dead bodies of the animals and plants. Okay, dead bodies of animals and plants. Like the dead leaves are there, then woodlouse eat it, then blackbird eat it. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so guys, we can say that detritus food chain is a distinct food chain or a sub food chain that exists, but otherwise we have the grazing food chain in general. Okay, then guys, we have the food web. How is this different from food chain? Actually, food web means the interrelated or multiple food chains simultaneously. Multiple food chains simultaneously. Okay, for example, Acha, Rishabh ji saying detritus. Rishabh ji, let me just write it down here. Then detritus. Dead leaf, fungus, and worms. This is one example, Rishabh. The dead leaf, which is moist, it will catch fungus, that is mold, a kind of fungus. Then to eat that mold, there would be the worms. Have you ever seen that? Suppose if the food articles are left out, after some time they start stinking very badly, and thereafter what happens? It starts getting mold. Okay, some mold, then further water etc. is generated, very stinking, very bad, foul smell kind of water there. Then after that, there are some small tiny worms which appear in that water, and thereafter they clean up the entire mold, and the worms completely get full of that, whatever food is left, that is completely finished by the worms. Okay, Rishabh, both of them are there, both of them. Okay. Then guys, food web. What is food web? So if you see food chain, it is a linear thing. Food chain is a linear thing. However, food web is a complex, yani multiple chains together are called as food web. You can make it food, right? You can make any kind of food web with whatever examples you have in your head. Like the same grasshopper which was eating the grass, it's possible that grasshopper would be eaten up by a bird, and the bird would be eaten up by a snake, and the snake would be eaten up by the eagle. But it is also possible that a bird would be eating the grasshopper rather than a frog eats the grasshopper, and the eagle eats the frog. Simple. Or next is that the grass is eaten up by a rabbit, and the rabbit is eaten up by a lion. Grass is eaten up by a goat is eaten up by the man, and the man is eaten up by the lion. So that is also possible. That is also possible. So guys, these are certain examples of the food web. Now, what are the ecological pyramids? Guys, instead of doing anything extra, just learn one thing. Just learn one thing, that the pyramid of energy, pyramid of biomass, and pyramid of numbers, these are the three important pyramids. And they are of what kind of? They are basically the ecological pyramids. They indicate the conditions or the changes in the patterns of various phases of ecology. Like for example, you can see, right, the primary producers, that is plants. Use solar energy to prepare the food. Got it? Prepare the food of the nutrients. Now guys, what happens? Suppose whatever amount or whatever number of the primary producers are present, let us count it as 100%. Let us count it as 100%. So according to this energy pyramid system, what will happen? Guys, according to this system, what will happen? That the primary producers, they will have 100% energy. If they will have 100% energy, only the 10% is transferred to the next trophic level, which means that suppose if they are having 1,000 calorie, okay, so whatever they will be eating, or whatever they will be eaten by whatever animal, that animal would retain only 10% of that 1,000 calorie. That means 100 calorie. So if we are taking the 100 calories from the meat of a goat or a buffalo or any other grazing animal, right, 100 calorie of the meat, that 100 calorie energy producing meat, that is produced by the plants which produce 1,000 calorie. Okay, so that is the condition. All right, so 1,000 calorie plant was eaten up, and only it could be converted or transformed into a 10 calorie meat. Okay, thereafter, 100 calorie meat. Thereafter, what happens? Thereafter, the next trophic level is further reduces 1/10. So this actually keeps on happening, and subsequently, as we move to the top, we are left with very, very less percentage of the nutrients getting transferred to us, and therefore we are responsible. So guys, those people who say that we eat the non-vegetarian food just to save the environment or just to help saving the plants, actually they are causing much bigger harm to the plants, because 1,000 calorie energy producing plants, they are cut only to produce 100 calorie energy producing animal flesh. Okay, that is the reality. Then we have the pyramid of biomass. So guys, we have the biomass. That means what? That means basically the total biosphere which is occupied by 809 gram per meter cube primary producer. So it means that primary producers are bulkier, heavier. Then guys, 37 grams per square meter by primary consumers, then 11 grams per square meter by secondary consumers, and then 1.5 grams per square meter by tertiary consumers, which means that we are actually having the very less biomass compared to how much we have eaten up. What does this mean? Due to this principle, you can say that a goat eating up the grass will end up eating far, far more grass than his own body weight due to that grass eating. Okay? Due to that grass eating. So this is your pyramid of biomass. Then guys, we have the pyramid of numbers, which means that the big number of the primary producers are required to sustain the ecosystem, whereas the smaller number of the upper and top level animals are required to sustain the system. So even if we have one single large predator, it can easily tackle like around 90,000 secondary customers. 90,000. Okay. Which means that the smaller animals, the smaller grasshoppers and insects and other things, it can have a big animal at the top, right? So guys, you can see very clearly that the numbers, the biomass and the energy, all of them are higher on the side for the primary producers. Okay, remember that. Guys, then we have the ecological succession. So we have two stages, in fact, three stages: the pioneer species, intermediate species, and the climax. Right, everyone? Now, questions from these topics, let me tell you. So we have studied till now. So who among the following okay, so who among the following gave the term ecosystem? So guys, this is a very factual kind of information that they are supposed to ask you. Like for example, they would be giving like three names. MS Swaminathan, Robert Hooke, okay, then Mendel, all right, and then they would be giving you this particular name, that is A.G. Tansley, so that you can identify the right answer. Guys, you know what, you should be, in fact, you must expect such kind of direct, straightforward facts which you are supposed to see very frequently in this examination, right? Then they would be asking the questions from the different terminology based nutritional levels, like which of the following is an example of the ectoparasitic nutrition. Your choices are the flatworm, tapeworm, flies, or the fungus, right? So you can say that which of the following is an example of the ectoparasites. Okay, so flies are the best example of the ectoparasites, even though fungus could be a choice, but it is not specifying that fungus is where, because fungus can exist inside as well as the outside the body. Okay, remember that. Got it? Now, so guys, what is the primary succession? What is the primary succession? Primary succession is basically the very, very small scale and very long term of the succession, So rocks, initially they are the bare rocks. Thereafter the lichens, etc., they grow on the bare rocks, and they actually help in breaking up the bigger rocks into the smaller fragments. And small annual plants, etc., they start growing up. Thereafter we have the grasses and the perennial plants, that means the plants which remain throughout the year. Thereafter we have the grasses and shrubs and the shade intolerant trees like the pines, etc. Why so? Because these are the rocks which are actually continuously getting pulverized with the help of the growing grasses, etc. Right? Now, if we talk about intermediate species, so we include the grasses, shrubs, and such plants which grow high and higher. And once this happens, okay, then guys, we have the shade tolerant trees. Okay, so this is basically the outcome of you can say the maturing soil and more capacity to bear the heat and the temperature, etc. And therefore it is the matured, or say absolutely climax community, the top level community. Now guys, in the secondary succession, what do we have? Suppose there is the loss of the primary ecosystem due to certain reasons. In that case, what will happen? In that case, suppose there is a wildfire, then again the grasses and perennials would be emerging up, and then again what will happen? That would be leading to the intermediate species, that is grasses, the shrubs, pines, and young oak, etc., that will growing up. And thereafter we have the climax community. So basically you can see that even after the wildfire, etc., it is highly possible that we have the secondary succession and the balanced ecology and environment. Okay. Then guys, we have the nutrient cycle. Okay. What is the meaning of the nutrient cycle? You can see that there is the litter. What is the litter? By the way, litter is basically the the dirt and the basically garbage, the waste. From where does this waste come? This waste actually comes from the biomass. Biomass mostly like human excreta, animal excreta, the farm waste, and other products, dead and decaying bodies, anything, everything. So what happens? The biomass is basically creating the litters, and the litters actually gets decomposed with the help of the decomposers. And when they are decomposed, their nutrients actually mix up in the soil, and after that mix up, what happens? The leaching of the nutrients from the top of the soil to the bottom of the soil. Okay, that is called as the leaching. The bottom of the soil also has the underground water, etc. So sometimes through the various pores of the rocks, these nutrients actually leach. They actually leach into the drinking water as well. So this is the reason because of which the drinking water actually is usually polluted if it is situated at a lower place near some dirty pond or lake. Okay. Then guys, suppose we have this litter. It is also possible that surface is completely covered with the litter. It is also possible that here the soil is actually having the problem of the leaching as well, and simply it has the a new layer being added. Got it? So guys, you can see that the nutrient cycling is again not a linear function, but a multi-dimensional cycle that is obtained to see here, and that is actually nutrient cycle. One example, you can see the dead plant, animal matter, the plant leaves, etc., they are going downwards, decomposed, and the breakdown actually happens. Then the minerals are leached into the soil, and the tree obtains the minerals, and these minerals make the tree as well as the new grasses to grow. These new grasses are actually eaten up by the cows, etc. Okay, these cows, etc., while walking, they break the rocks. Okay, they break the rocks. Apart from that, the rainfall, etc., also penetrates the soil, breaks the rocks, and helps the grasses to grow, which means that you can see that simultaneously several things are happening, and that is what we call as the nutrient cycle. Different nutrients like carbon and phosphorus, nitrogen, etc., they are supposed to be recycled frequently in the ecosystem. Okay, frequently in the ecosystem. So here you can see, guys, they will only ask that which of the following is an element of the which particular cycle. So you can say that what is the identity point, volcano, ammonia, ammonification, such kind of things, these do actually add up to the nitrogen cycle. So you can identify the nitrogen cycle very easily, very easily. They will not give you diagrams and all, but they will simply put the questions. So wherever you find the ammonification, right, ammonification, or wherever you find the volcanic eruption, there, if both of them are together, then it is 100% nitrogen. Okay, and one of them is there, no nitrogen. How can you say that? Volcanic eruption, right? Volcanic eruption, it also contains the sulfur dioxide, but otherwise it contains large amounts of the nitrogen as well. Okay, then guys, we have the carbon cycle. Carbon cycle is again a very simple, very essential thing. We all exhale the carbon dioxide. We all exhale the carbon dioxide, and that gets added up to the atmosphere. And the atmosphere, the plant actually, it just reabsorbs that carbon dioxide. However, if suppose there are other things like settlements and plants, other things, what would happen? The water is evaporated, changed to the atmospheric H2O, that is the water vapors, and further it leads to the rainfall. That rainfall actually causes the carbon dioxide to get dissolved, and the carbolic acid comes to the earth. Once again, the carbon is leached and deposited into the soil. Okay, so that kind of things actually happen in the decomposition, as after that nutrient cycling. Okay, guys, you can also see the example of others, like say phosphorus. Okay, phosphorus. Now, talking about the nutrients, guys, just give me 1 minute, and not one, but it will be like taking a couple of minutes. I will be back with the water filled, okay, bottle. Just a minute. Okay, everyone. So thank you so much for giving me that time. And it was probably like, now let us talk about the human nutrition. So we studied about the basic nutrients and basic nutrition, in fact, of the distinct plants and the animals. Now we are going to talk about the human nutrition. Guys, as far as the human nutrition is concerned, human nutrition basically, it encompasses or consists of the 6 major nutrients. One of them is actually the filler, that is the base, that is water. With the help of water, the other nutrients actually find their way. Other nutrients find their way to the bloodstream, and there they get assimilated and absorbed, and then they get utilized. Which are the other nutrients apart from water? There we have the carbohydrates, the fats, and the minerals, the vitamins, the proteins, etc., etc. Now, these are categorized into 2 segments: macronutrients and the micronutrients. Macronutrients means the nutrients which are required in sufficient quantity, sufficient amount, usually in the grams on the regular basis, like carbohydrates, the fat, and the protein. For example, what is the amount of the protein that we required in our daily diet? It is said that if suppose you weight 50 kg, then you require 50 grams of protein in your daily diet. Right? It is the ratio of 0.9 to 1.2. That is the range of the protein which is essential for a person to survive and to remain healthy. If the person is not involved into the heavy physical works, okay, that's the case. And what are the micronutrients, my dear? These are the nutrients which are required in very small, very tiny quantities, but they are so much essential that if they are missing from the food, they can create the adverse conditions, they can create the diseases and sickness in our body. They are the micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and the smaller nutrients. Like, for example, in case of the plants, we have the phytonutrients. Okay. Some of the phytonutrients are also useful for our human bodies, but still mainly vitamins and minerals. Then, guys, in case we have the lack of the nutrition, okay, we develop certain kinds of nutritional disorders. Like, for example, if you see, there are 2 conditions. The one is the malnutrition and other one is the obesity, okay, or the overnutrition. What is the malnutrition? So when we are not able to fulfill the demand of our body for the quantity of the nutrients that it needs, in such case we develop the malnutrition. Guys, when we talk about the malnutrition, there are several conditions, like what? Like you can say the starvation. Okay. Starvation means when the body starts dying up slowly over the period of time due to the lack of the food, it starts consuming its own cells. Okay, that is the starvation. Then we have the cachexia. Okay, the cachexia or the sarcopenia or frailty, right? Guys, these are the conditions which actually develop in our body primarily due to the lack of the nutrients or simply the malnutrition. Just look at this diagram, sarcopenia. I will show you the diagram of this. Look at this one. Right, guys, have a look at this one, sarcopenia. Look at this one. Guys, as we have the common conditions, okay, the common conditions, usually the sarcopenia is associated with the old age. However, in case of you, right, you don't have the nutrition, you have poor nutrition, there it is more likely that you start looking like very fragile and very old kind of person. You must have seen that the people who are highly malnourished, they appear either too much of less, right, too much of a young age, or too old of their age. That's very simple, right? So either too young than their age or too old than their age, that actually both relates to the sarcopenia and the frailty, and they are the results of the lack of the nutrients, lack of the nutrition. Guys, thereafter we have the obesity. The obesity. In case of malnutrition, due to the starvation or cachexia, we have the conditions like the marasmus and kwashiorkor, etc. Marasmus is due to the lack of nutrients, particularly the carbs. Sufficient carbs are not there, energy is not there, then we have the marasmus. Okay, but when the protein is not there, then we develop the kwashiorkor. Due to the lack of protein, we start swelling up. Okay, the inflammation occurs. Let me show you the pictures as well. I have added the pictures of these two. Okay, look at this one. This is the marasmus, where you are not having proper carbs, you are not having the proper availability of the regular foods. Then this kind of condition of the body happens. Okay, usually less than 1 year of age, the infants of that age actually suffer from the marasmus. Right, obviously due to the low calorie intake, the growth is totally retarded. The body is completely, lost of its weight. Absolutely no fat, neither in the abdomen, that is the visceral region, nor in the subcutaneous, that means underneath the skin. Both kinds of fat they are completely missing. Both kinds of fats are missing. Thereafter, we have the prominent ribs which appear just bulging out of the body, and the voracious feeder. That means this boy or this girl, whosoever is suffering from the marasmus, actually, consumes the milk or feeds the milk like the ever hungry child, ever. Fatty liver, absolutely no fat over the liver. Guys, fatty liver, when it actually, grows, when the fat grows over the liver, that creates a problematic situation. However, the fat on the liver is slightly essential as well, because it works in case of the unavailability of the glucose or ready carbohydrates for our consumption. Because when you don't have the readily available glucose or readily available sugar to be used as the energy source, then the stored fat is actually glycolized by the liver, and that liver makes the glucose for the consumption of body. Okay, or glucose like substance, right? But basically glucagon, right? Then guys, the face becomes like an old man. Okay, and here you can see this is the condition of the kwashiorkor, where the child looks like pot-bellied child. 1 to 5 year age. In this case, the child develops a pot belly. Due to the lack of protein, there is reduction in the body weight, but the body appears swollen. It appears completely inflamed, right? Enlarged fatty liver is there. Appetite is very poor, and the face becomes like moon. Okay, obviously there is a retardation in the growth as well as the loss of the hair, etc. And apart from that, the child remains very lethargic, very inactive, right? So guys, these are the conditions of the marasmus and kwashiorkor, which develop due to the lack of, this is lack of protein, and that is the lack of carbohydrates and other energy sources. Okay. Then guys, when we talk about the human nutrition, right? When we talk about the human nutrition, let me tell you, the human nutrition is actually obtained through the digestive system of the human body. What all details do you require to learn about the digestive system? Nothing more than what is given on this page. Okay, nothing more than that is given on this page. So here, basically, these are the components of the digestive system. Okay, the organs of digestive system. Our body has a total of 9 organ systems. How many? 9 organ systems are there in our body, and digestive system is one of them. How? What are those 9 organ systems? Right. So, in fact, I think instead of writing it down completely, I will be using the image that will give you better, pictographic learning as well. 9 organ systems of the human body. Okay, it's very simple and very interesting as well to have this kind of image. All right, so this is going to work finally. Right. So guys, these are the, I think this picture is not visible very clearly. Let me just add on some better pictures. This is far better. Okay. So this is the picture that we will be adding up into the PPT itself here. Okay. So guys, this is a better picture that gives you a better idea. And it says that there are total 11 systems, right? Total 11 systems, though we will be talking about only 9 systems. Only 9 systems. Which are those 9 systems here? Look at this one. Number 1 is your nervous system. Okay, nervous system. Then we have the cardiovascular system. Then we have the lymphatic system. Actually, let me tell you that the lymphatic system, basically is the a kind of circulatory system only, but through the different channel. That is the case. Then guys, we have urinary system. It is also called as the excretory system. We have the skeletal system, right? Skeletal system. Got it? Then we have the endocrine. Endocrine system is responsible for the hormonal production, transportation, and balance. Then guys, we have the respiratory system. Okay. Respiratory system. Then we have the digestive system, obviously. Then we have the reproductive system. Actually, when we say skeletal system and the muscular system, right, guys, muscular system, in fact, if we talk about the lymphatic system as well as the cardiovascular system, both of them are interconnected. Both of them are interconnected. However, the lymphatic system is actually more related to the immunity. Got it? So total of the 9 basic systems are there, where the skeletal and muscle, they are often connected. They are often interconnected and called as the skeletal muscular system, right? Skeletal muscular system, like that. Similarly, the lymphatic system is there, and then we have the internal circulation system related to the cardiovascular system, right? So basically the blood and the vessels, etc., they are part of the cardiovascular system. Okay, you can actually ignore this, right? This integumentary system. This integumentary system includes the kind of temperature regulation mechanism, kind of sweating. However, there are the organs related and dedicated to this function specifically. Still, we consider it just as the part of your control and coordination system, which is your nervous and hormonal system. So this could be considered as the distinctive part within the nervous and the hormonal systems. Okay, because our perspirations and the other skin-based excretions, etc., are all regulated by the nervous systems. Okay. Now, when we got to know about these 9 systems in total, got it? Let me tell you that apart from that, we also have the significant systems, detailed functions which are essential for the learning purpose, which include the digestive system. The digestive system includes how many organs in total? So it starts from the mouth, then it goes to the pharynx, Okay. Thereafter, after the pharynx, then comes the esophagus. Okay. Within the mouth, you have the salivary glands. Which secrete saliva. Okay. After that, pharynx is there. Thereafter, the esophagus. The esophagus is actually the long tube-like structure through which the food passes and reaches the stomach. This is the stomach. Okay. This is the stomach. The stomach is actually divided into 3 parts. Okay, 3 parts. Which are the 3 parts, by the way? So you can see that this part is basically called as the cardis, right? Cardis, and thereafter we have the fundus. Okay, and there is then proper stomach here. So this particular stomach actually stores the food, and the basic metabolism of the food actually starts in the mouth or buccal cavity itself. Thereafter, the breakdown of the protein actually starts in the stomach. Thereafter, the digestion of the entire food, that begins in the small intestine. Okay. So if we talk about the fundus and the cardis part is actually located very close to the heart. Then the main stomach part is basically the pylorus. Okay. Fundus and pylorus are the main parts which actually store the things. After that, we have the pyloric sphincter. Right. Pyloric sphincter, basically it is the opening, the muscular opening which opens up the stomach and its food into the small intestine. Okay, the pyloric sphincter is that guarding muscle or the muscular valve which actually prevents the food, right? Guys, we also have the We also have the esophageal sphincter on the top. This sphincter actually stops the food from, reflex. So whenever there is a reflex-like condition, this valve gets opened and the food is actually thrown out of the mouth. Okay. So these are the muscular valves. What do we call them? Sphincter. Okay. So after the stomach, the food actually reaches to the intestines, small intestines. Guys, small intestines are actually small in their diameter, but in the length, they are the longest part of our body. As far as like probably 7 meters or more than 7 meters, like 7.2 meters, let me tell you exactly. That is the length of the small intestine. 7.2 meters, not feet, meters. After that, we have the large intestine. This large intestine is actually connected via the small intestine with the help of a muscular valve. And this is basically what? Actually, the intestine, the small intestine is divided into 3 parts. Okay, which are the 3 parts? Duodenum, right? Duodenum, then jejunum and ileum. Okay. So if we talk about the duodenum, jejunum and ileum, the ileum is the longest part of the small intestine, and most of the digestive activities actually complete in this ileum part. The nutrients like protein, the nutrients like fat, as well as the carbohydrates, they finally get completely absorbed, completely digested and starts absorption in the ileum itself. However, till the end of this ileum, the food nutrients are completely absorbed, but there are few things which are still left in the bloodstream, and they are not actually absorbed by the small intestine. What are those things? Like, for example, bile is there, bile. For example, certain bigger molecules are there, salts are there. Okay, and water is plenty, still water is plenty, which is not absorbed. So all these things actually, they enter from the small intestine to the large intestine, and then in the large intestine, right, in the large intestine, we have this part. This is actually the cecum. This small part of the large intestine is the cecum. Okay. After that, what happens? We have the the longest part. This longest part of the large intestine is called as the colon, or colon, colon. Okay. After that, we have again a small chamber-like entity. This chamber-like entity is called as the rectum. It's called the rectum. Then there is the muscular sphincter which opens outside the body. This is called as the anus. Okay. Now, this is what we studied. That was just the canal, the digestive canal. This is what we studied. The digestive system consists of 2 types of organs. The number 1, the canal, and number 2, the secretory organs. So we studied about the canal, the buccal cavity, the pharynx, the esophagus, the stomach's 3 parts, that is the fundus, pylorus, and cardis. Then we have the small intestine, 3 parts, duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Then we have the large intestine, 3 parts, that is the cecum, colon, and the rectum, right? All of these are the basically canals, the canal system, digestive canal. The digestive canal is also known as the alimentary canal, okay? However, we also have the secretory organs, my dear. Secretory organs, mainly, there are 3 secretory organs: the liver, the pancreas, and the gallbladder. Actually, gallbladder is not secretory. It just stores, it just collects the secretion. However, even the intestines and the stomach also secrete some things in the food, but their primary function is to store and digest. Secondary function is to secrete. However, if the liver and pancreas are concerned, their primary functions is to secrete. Got it? That's why they are called as secretory organs. So guys, this liver actually has the anterior and the posterior lobes. The anterior and the posterior lobes. And the liver is actually a kind of such a complex organ. It is also the biggest organ, or the biggest, you can say, gland in our body. Okay. Gland is the name of those organs which have the secretory functions. Remember, these terminology is very, very important. Now guys, liver, what does it do? Liver has got several jobs to do. Several jobs. First of all, what does it do? Actually, it breaks down and builds up many biological molecules. Not just that, it also destroys the old blood cells, and with the help of the destroyed old blood cells, it secretes the bile, B-I-L-E, bile, which is highly alkaline in the nature, basic in the nature. pH is approximately 10.5 to 11, and because of that alkaline nature, what happens? The stomach, which is acidic in the nature, releases the protein and also the fat. Protein is semi-digested and the fat is completely undigested in the stomach. But this alkaline medium of the liver's bile juice, which is accumulated in the gallbladder, this reaches into the duodenum of the small intestine, where the digestion of the fat actually starts. Dear students, where in some people we have the issues related to the liver which does not secrete the enough bile juice, and therefore the digestion of the fat is particularly slow. It happens but very slowly. Therefore, on this particular area, just underneath your ribs, you can see that there is a bulge which indicates the slight deposition of the fat over the duodenum. Why so? Because the duodenum actually overworks to digest the fat that you are consuming, which is not actually efficiently done by the livers. Why? Liver's functions. Why? Because the liver is slightly overworked, right? That is the condition. So this gallbladder, what does it do? Gallbladder actually stores and concentrates and enriches the bile juice. Apart from that, liver is also responsible for converting the dangerous ammonia into nitrogenous waste. Liver is also responsible for converting any kind of poison in our body into the less poisonous substances. It is actually the healer of the body. The healer of the body. Got it? In the young stage of the life, or in the fetus stage of the life, when the bone marrow is not developed properly, the liver is the site of the formation and the maturation of the RBCs. This is why when we see the young children taking birth, since their bone marrow is not that much activated, and liver is the site of the production of the blood cells, hence if we see slightly yellowish complexion in the children, immediately the liver is treated for the jaundice, right? Because the function of the liver is very essential in the young, newly born, as it not just produces but also helps in the establishment of life through the RBCs. Now guys, the pancreas. What is the job of pancreas here? The pancreas is on the left side, liver is on the right side. Okay, so this pancreas is actually the organ which secretes the hormones as well as the digestive juices. Hormones and digestive juices, if both of them are secreted, this indicates that the pancreas is a kind of heterocrine gland. It is neither exocrine nor endocrine, but both. Okay, it secretes the digestive juices which help in the digestion of protein, but at the same time it also secretes the hormones like insulin and glucagon. What are the hormones, insulin and glucagon? Insulin is basically that substance which helps in the absorption of the extra blood sugar from the stream, right? Remember that. So if insulin is not there, the bloodstream has more sugar than the required amount. Okay. Similarly, what is the glucagon? It actually releases the blood sugar in the sugar in the bloodstream when it is required, right? So glucagon works in the conformity with the liver, and in fact both the insulin as well as the glucagon both function in the conformity with the liver. Okay. Apart from that, you can see that there are other parts as well, but primarily you need to understand the salivary glands. Salivary glands actually have different segmentations. Like there are total 3 different places where the salivary glands in the mouth are located. They include your sublingual, means underneath your tongue. Then they have the submandibular. Submandibular means mandibular, right? Mandible is the lower jaw. So underneath the lower jaw, okay. Then they have the parotid, basically the cheek. So behind the cheek, you have the salivary glands. So these are the three places from where the saliva is secreted. So guys, overall, this is the summary of your digestive system. Now what happens? This digestive system actually gives you a lot of factual data as well. You can read this factual data once you download this PDF, and remember these things like the digestion of carbohydrates that is done with the help of salivary amylase, pancreatic amylase, maltase, lactase, produced by salivary glands, pancreas, small intestine, and the small intestine again. Then we have the protein digestion. Protein digestion is primarily the function of the stomach and the pancreas, but it completes in the small intestine. Carbohydrates digestion is primarily the function of the salivary glands and the and the pancreas and the small intestine. Then guys, the nucleic acid, basically it is digested with the help of pancreatic juices. Fat is again digested with the help of the pancreatic juices and also with the help of the liver. Okay, with the help of the liver. Okay, so liver and pancreas, they are the primary secretory organs or the glands in our body which help in the digestion, apart from the salivary glands and of course the stomach, intestine, etc. Then guys, we have the respiratory system. Respiratory system is again very important. You have seen this particular diagram. You can see that it is a very, very richly labeled diagram. You can see that the various organs include the nose and paranasal sinuses. Then we have the pharynx. The passage of the air goes from the pharynx. Then we have the larynx. Larynx basically is the small cartilaginous part, which is also known as your, that Adam's apple. This epiglottis, it is the flap. It is the flap-like organ over the larynx. Okay, over the larynx. And this is actually your, you call it as the air box, sound box, or windpipe. Got it? It starts from here. Okay. Sound boxes are actually the 2 small drum-like structures just located on both the sides of your larynx. Okay. They are all cartilaginous structures. Therefore, in the hanging or in the choking of the neck, this bone, which is cartilage, actually not proper bone but cartilaginous structure, it gets broken. And once it gets broken, it is not possible to be repaired again. And the system which allows the air to flow through the windpipe, that system is ruptured and your breathings are completely obstructed, and simply it leads to the death. Okay. So guys, apart from the pharynx and larynx, you have the trachea. I told you that the larynx, what is that? Actually, it is the flap, that conical shaped part which covers the windpipe, or this is the trachea. Trachea is the windpipe. Trachea is the windpipe. After the trachea, what happens? You have a thicker size of the windpipe called as the bronchus. Called as the bronchus. Guys, this bronchus actually gets divided into two parts. That is, they are called as the bronchi. Okay, bronchi. Now these bronchi actually, they start spreading through the thousands and thousands of the divisions. Okay, and those divisions are known as the bronchioles. Known as the bronchioles. Got it? So several bronchi are there, and each of the bronchi actually divides into the bronchioles. Similarly, guys, the trachea divides into the tracheoles. Okay, so here let me tell you, the bronchioles, they end up into what? They end up into this kind of balloon-shaped structures. These kind of balloon-shaped structures. These balloon-shaped structures are very, very richly supplied with the blood vessels from inside. Okay, from inside. These blood vessels actually have the absolutely net or mesh, right, mesh-shaped mesh-shaped structures. Guys, if you observe them from outside, they look like the sac. Sac means the tiny pouches or tiny bags. And they are known as alveoli. They are known as alveoli. The single one is called as the alveolus, and multiple of them, that is called alveoli. All right. Each of the alveoli, how does it look like? It looks like, the hive of the wasp. Have you seen the hives of the wasp or hives of the honeybees? Right. So it looks like that. It looks like that. So each of the alveoli is actually having the segmented chambers. The segmented chambers. And those segmented chambers actually, they are richly supplied with the blood vessels, and they absorb the oxygen. If you inhale, the oxygen-rich air goes inside the lungs, and the richly supplied blood in the alveoles, that is facilitated by the alveoles and actually releases the carbon dioxide in the same blood, in the same alveoli, and the oxygen-rich air is dissolved into the blood from where the oxygen is absorbed, and that blood goes to the heart, from the heart to the rest of the body. Thus, we can say that the oxygen and carbon dioxide, they are exchanged, and the site of exchange is our lungs. Okay, our lungs. So guys, these alveolar, right, these alveolar are actually separated by the very thin walls, and those thin walls are called as the septa. Numerous walls are called as the septa. One wall is called as the septum. Okay, and let me tell you that in case of smoking, these septa are actually destroyed or ruptured, or they get hardened. So if septa is hardened, that means it does not allow the flexibility of the structure to let the air come in completely. It means that a long tenure of the smoking reduces the inhalation capacity or inhaling capacity of your lungs. Okay, remember that. Sometimes it also happens that these are filled with the mucus because of the infection or because of the allergic reactions. Such conditions make it very difficult to exhale the air, and that is called as the asthma. Asthma is basically the condition where you are unable to exhale the air out of your lungs, and suddenly your chest starts completely blowing out. So that is your asthma. So guys, these are the major diseases or issues related to the respiratory system particularly include the bronchitis or asthma or pneumonia, or similarly they have the asbestosis or fibrosis, and so many diseases are there, got it, related to the respiratory system. Now, how many questions we expect? We just expect, I would say, not more than 2 questions, man. 2, 3, max to max, not more than that. Okay, so that much is sufficient for all of you. And after that, guys, there are 2 types of respirations. We have the aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic means in the absence of the oxygen. In the absence of oxygen, the local muscles, they exhibit this kind of respiration. They exhibit this kind of respiration. Remember that. Apart from this, let us directly go to the blood. Let us directly go to the blood. And guys, rather than anything else, let us understand the blood, lymph, arteries, veins, capillaries, etc. They are also possible to come into the examination. So guys, the transfer of the blood actually takes place. Transfer of the blood takes place through the different kind of the vessels. Different kinds of the vessels means the pipes. These pipes are of different type. 3 major types of vessels are there: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries, veins, and capillaries. All the arteries, they carry the oxygenated or oxygen-rich blood except one. That is your pulmonary artery, that carries the oxygen-deficient blood from the heart to the lungs. Okay, that is one thing. Second thing is that all the veins, they carry the CO2-rich blood. Carbon dioxide-rich blood is carried by the veins. All the veins, except one. Except one. The pulmonary veins actually carry the oxygen-rich blood from the lungs to the heart. So guys, always remember that pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein, these are the 2 exceptional blood vessels which function exactly opposite to the rest of the blood vessels. And how do the rest of the blood vessels function? Here, the arteries carry the pure or say oxygen-rich blood, and the veins carry the impure or say CO2-rich blood. Okay, remember that. Now guys, we have the other differences as well, like the arteries, their lumen means their gap, that is small. And here the lumen is large in the veins. Guys, in case of arteries, we have the semi-lunar valves completely absent. But in the veins, we have the presence of the semi-lunar valves. Then guys, higher blood pressure is there in the arteries and the lower blood pressure is in the veins. Remember that. Rapidly blood flow in the arteries and in the veins, the blood flow is slow. The blood flow is slow. Therefore, if you see, somehow these are your arteries, right? These are your arteries. You can see, right? You can see this one. These are the arteries. If you cut these arteries, the blood will come like a fountain. Okay. But then there are the veins. There are the veins. If you somehow puncture the veins through the injection and all that, and then you just bring the injection out, the blood will be shown. It will be showing, but it will be like slowly coming out, but steadily. Slowly, but steadily. And here, in case of arteries, if you just pluck it out like anything, the blood will, it will simply come out like a spring. Okay. Then guys, capillaries. Capillaries are basically the connecting vessels between the arteries and the veins. Basically, the arteries, they fragment into the several smaller arteries called as the arterioles, and veins, they fragment into the venules. So these arterioles and venules, they create a mesh-like structure, and they are entangled completely with the help of capillaries, which facilitate the transfer of the blood between artery and capillary. Okay. Then guys, we have the blood as well as the lymph. These are the two liquid and two connecting liquid tissues which help in the transportation in the body as well as the defense mechanism. So guys, blood consists of the plasma, red and white blood cells and platelets, whereas the lymph has only plasma and white blood cells, particularly lymphocytes. Blood is red in color due to the hemoglobin. Lymph is colorless because no hemoglobin is there. Plasma has more protein, calcium and phosphorus in the blood. In the lymph, plasma had lesser amount of the nutrients. In the blood, the glucose concentration is very less, but in the lymph, the glucose concentration is very high. Carbon dioxide and other metabolic wastes, that they are normal in the blood, and the waste products are much more in the lymph. Then guys, it carries the materials towards and away from the tissues. That means the blood is a kind of vehicle. Blood is a kind of vehicles. Okay. Whereas if we talk about the lymph, right, the lymph is basically what? Transfers the material from the blood to the body cells and vice versa. Okay. That means it assists simply the transfer of the materials between the blood and the body parts, not between one body part to the other body part like blood. So lymph is the assistant transporter for the blood, whereas the blood is the chief transportation mechanism or chief transportation medium for the body. Okay, both of them are the liquid connecting tissues. Okay, liquid connecting tissues. Then guys, we have the nervous system or the brain system here. Our nervous system actually consists of the brain and spinal cord. Brain and spinal cord, basically central nervous system. Then we have the second nervous system called as the peripheral nervous system. So CNS and PNS. Central nervous system is basically brain, that brain and spinal cord. Okay, the spinal cord. PNS is basically your peripheral nervous system, which controls the organs or the voluntary organs, basically. That includes the cranial nerves and spinal nerves, okay, as well as the different kinds of control mechanisms. Now here, if we talk about the nerves in our body, they are of two types: afferent and efferent. Afferent means what? Afferent means, guys, that include the sensory divisions. What is the sensory division? Basically the fibers which emanate or which emerge from the body, from the CNS, and they go to the rest of the body. Got it? Here, let me tell you, they conduct the impulses from the receptors to the CNS. Got it? However, the motor nerves or the efferent divisions, they actually carry the instructions from the brain to the organs. So from the organs to the brain, that means afferent. That means afferent. And from the brain to the organ, that means efferent. So when we touch something, then we are getting the receptions, we are getting the sensors, right? So this sensory nerve in our hands, in our fingertips, they are telling the brain that this is something hard, probably on the basis of the previous memory. This is plastic, okay? This is pen. However, if I have to move this pen, because see, there are like 2 or 3 pens, and then I touch each and every pen, and then I get to see that one pen I will be taking up to write down. So as soon as I touched the 3-4 pens, the information went via afferent nerves from the sensors to the brain. The brain decided and told the hand and the fingers to act upon, and that information came via came via the motor nerves, efferent nerves. Okay, everyone. So motor nerves are those which control our movements of the body. Okay, movements of the body. Remember that. Then, guys, we can say that the motor nerves, they are of two types. The motor nerves, they are of two types. The autonomous, yeah, visceral motor, and somatic or voluntary motors. Means when we talk about the somatic motor, so whatever we wish to do like this is the somatic motor. But there are the visceral motors, like for example, our heart, our lungs, our other body parts, they are all working, functioning continuously. That is because of the autonomic nervous system. Remember that. In the autonomic nervous system, we have two types, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Guys, sympathetic nervous system means it simply exaggerates the reaction, right? Which means that suppose there is a extreme condition, there is an extreme condition. So how would our body respond to that extreme condition? Like some people, they get goosebumps. Some people, they start sweating. Some people, they start shivering. Some people, they start, completely enraged, getting completely enraged. Some people, they start not just shivering, but they completely collapse. So all these kind of reactions, that is happening due to the sympathetic nervous system. And parasympathetic nervous system, that is your normal response to the thing. So once your body is completely acclimatized of the certain responses or certain stimulants which invoke the sympathetic nervous response, once or twice or thrice after that, your body will not face any kind of sympathetic nervous response, because that will become a normal activity for you. Like suppose if you heard the gun or the bullet sound for the first time, your body may respond in a very sympathetic manner. However, if it is the regular job for you, then your body will be completely accustomed to it. Okay. So guys, these are the different responses related to the nervous system. Now you have the different parts of the brain. Please remember these functions. Which part of the brain does what? Just remember it, just by heart it. Okay. Then guys, excretory system, that is done with the help of the pair of kidneys. Then we have the adrenal glands. Then we have the ureters, a pair of ureters. Then we have the bladder and we have the urethra. Okay. These are the excretory system. The function of excretory system is to filter out the nitrogenous waste and throw it out of the body with the help of urine. Okay. These are not required. Then guys, blood clotting. Blood clotting is very important for all of you. Suppose there is the damaged blood vessel, the blood is flowing out. As soon as the blood flows out, that actually triggers the release of the clotting factor in the body. In the body. What is that clotting factor here? Basically, calcium ions and the thromboplastins. Calcium ions are present in the blood itself. Thromboplastin is there. When both of these unite, they actually convert the prothrombin into thrombin. This prothrombin, where does it come from? So guys, this prothrombin is a pre-activated protein which is secreted again from the help of liver. Okay. This prothrombin is converted into thrombin, right? And this thrombin actually comes, it activates the fibrinogen, again a secretion from the livers, to the fibrin. Okay, to the fibrin. This fibrinogen, it is soluble in the blood and secreted from the liver. However, the fibrin is the insoluble substance in the blood which is flowing in the blood for the time being and goes to the level of to the place where the rupture is there. Okay, this fibrin will be stopping the blood vessels, blood corpuscles, and the blood corpuscles including the RBC, WBC, platelets, they would be completely stucking into this fibrin because it is like a mesh, like a net. Okay, so what will happen? The platelets, right? The platelets, they actually help in the formation of this mesh-like structure over the rupture site, and that is converted into the clot. That is converted into the clot. Got it, everybody? So platelets plug is created and the blood flow is stopped. Remember that. Blood flow is stopped. So you have to remember some important informations that, like for example, as soon as the blood comes in the contact with the air, the platelets release they release the prothrombin. Okay, this prothrombin converts into the thrombin with the help of the clotting factors. This thrombin actually converts the fibrinogen, which is the soluble protein secreted from the liver, into the fibrin. Okay, this fibrin along with the platelets forms the plug which stops the blood flow. Simple. Okay. Then guys, the types of the blood and the types of the blood cells that we have. So you can see that we have different components of the blood. We have the blood plasma and blood corpuscles. In the plasma, it is 90 to 95% of that is water, whereas the corpuscles are the solid parts. In the solid parts, we have which ones? We have the thrombocytes. We have the thrombocytes. Thrombocytes means platelets. Just we studied that, that platelets release the prothrombin, which is converted into thrombin. So thrombocytes means platelets. Erythrocytes means red blood cells, and leukocyte means white blood cells. Leukocytes, my dear, they are of the different types. For example, they are of granulocytes, and they are of agranulocytes. So granulocytes and agranulocytes, they are further divided into three types. The granulocytes include the acidophils, basophils, and eosinophils. Okay, basically neutrophils, okay, and eosinophils and basophils. Eosinophils is acidophils, right? So there is no need to get confused. Eosinophils are basically the acidophils. Basophils are second type, and the neutrophils are third type. Remember. Then guys, the highest number of cells which are of the granulocytes type, that is the neutrophils. Some of them are eosinophils or acidophils, others are basophils. Okay, the functions of these things: neutrophils basically destroys the bacteria, and it has the property of the phagocytosis, means engulfing. It just completely surrounds the foreign body and completely engulf the foreign body inside itself. That is the property of neutrophils. Then guys, what is the function of the basophils? Basophils is basically responsible for releasing the histamine. And why is the histamine releases? Why it is released? To activate the system of security of the body, and the pathogens are killed because of that. The histamine release is basically responsible for causing the allergic reactions in our body. Okay, got it? Then A granulocytes have the lymphocytes and monocytes. They are primarily responsible for the immunity system of the body, and therefore the WBCs are directly related to the immune system. So when the WBCs are abnormally high in the body, abnormally high, leukocytes or WBCs are abnormally high, that means we may have some sort of chronic infection in our body, even some sort of cancer in our body. Okay, remember that. Then guys, we have the different types of the blood groups. You can see the blood types, basically A, B, AB, and O. Here we have the plasma, antibody plasma, and we have the antigens in RBC. Remember that questions may be asked that the antigens are found where? This is the question. Antigens are found not in the plasma, not in the WBC, not on the platelets, but on the RBCs. They have the antigens. They have the antigens. Okay? So the antigens define the blood type. If the antigen A is present, the blood group is A. Antigen B is there, blood group is B. Antigen AB is there, blood group is AB. Antigen is absent, blood group is 0 or O. Right? And then this comes plus minus. What is that plus minus, my dear? That plus minus is basically the RH factor. RH factor. If RH is present, it is RH positive. If not, then RH negative. Okay? So if RH is present, that is positive, RH is absent, that is negative. What is antigen, Himanshu? Antigen is a kind of protein. It is a kind of a specific protein which stimulates the responses in the bloodstream against any foreign object entering into it. For example, if suppose the antigen A is there in our RBC, anything else apart from antigen A, if anything else apart from antigen A enters in our body, then the antigen A stimulates the blood plasma to form the antibody. For example, if the blood is entering in our body which does not have the antigen A, but it has the antigen B, so our blood will responds by forming the antibody of the antigen B. Okay, of the antigen B. Remember that. So what is the function of antigen? Antigen is a kind of protein. It is a kind of protein attached to the RBC, which helps in the determination of immune response of our blood. Okay. Then guys, endocrine system, we have some specific endocrine glands situated at the different parts of our body. On the topmost, we have the hypothalamus, then we have the pituitary, and then pineal is a small and ignore it. Then we have the thyroid and parathyroid. We have the thymus. Thymus is usually not functional in the adults. We have the pancreas and adrenal. Adrenal glands are basically on the top of the renal, means on the kidney. So on the top of kidney, we have the adrenal glands. Then guys, the gonads. These are collectively known as gonads. The gonads are basically the only kind of endocrine glands which are distinct in the males and females, means they are sex specific. They are sex specific. Okay. So gonads release the gonadotropins. Gonadotropins, which are basically the compilation of the sex hormones which are released from the distinct sex glands of our body. Okay. So here let me tell you the difference between the secretory organs or the regular glands and the endocrine glands. Guys, endocrine glands, they release their hormones directly into the bloodstream. Okay. However, in case of the exocrine glands, they have the duct. They have the proper duct. Okay. And this duct actually pours into the blood. Okay. So for example, this is the endocrine gland and this is the blood vessel. This is the blood vessel. Okay. This is endocrine gland. So without any kind of additional arrangement, this hormone is released and dumped here, directly dumped here. But this is exocrine gland and this is your blood vessel. So there will be a tube that will be carrying the secretion, okay, from the exocrine gland into the blood vessel. Okay. That is the difference between the exocrine and endocrine gland. Exception is pancreas. It is for the basic purpose that we are seeing pancreas as the exception. In reality, there are many more organs which are actually secreting the hormones as well as the digestive or other kind of secretions. Like liver is also the one, small intestines are also the ones, right? They are there. So guys, you have to remember this again. What is this? Just a second. Okay, so you have to remember this again. Endocrine glands, major hormones, primary target organs, and the effect of the target organ. Effect of the hormone. For example, the small intestine actually releases the hormones called secretin and the cholecystokinin. They target the stomach, liver, and pancreas, and the effect is that they inhibit the gastric motility and stimulates the bile and pancreatic juices secretion. So basically, we can say that the stomach is settled for the eating because of this secretin. Similarly, we have the heart. The heart also releases a kind of hormone called as the atrial natriuretic hormone, which targets kidneys and that promotes the excretion of the sodium in the urine. You can see that these are very in-depth kind of informations, but they are essential as well because maybe some of them are asked. Okay. So there are other organs which release the hormone, like for example, the skin. Our skin also releases a hormone called as 1.25 dihydroxy vitamin D3 that targets the small intestine and helps in the stimulation of the absorption of calcium. Okay, so can you believe that our body, our skin, which produces the vitamin D in the sunlight, of course, that is because of this hormone called as the 1,2,5 dihydroxy vitamin D3. Okay, remember that. Then guys, we have the pituitary gland. It produces the trophic hormones and antidiuretic hormones, and they have the several functions. Got it. Now guys, after that, only this is important, like connective tissues, example, tendons, bones, fat. Okay, these are important ones. Okay. Then guys, after that, only the factual part remains. For example, here we have different vitamins and the sources of the vitamins, the functions of the vitamins, and the diseases caused by those vitamins. I will insist all of you to go through these tables and these tables will definitely fetch you like one question, at least one question. Whatever we studied, they may or may not, but the tables that I have added up or the extra content that I will be uploading, right, today by evening or maybe by Monday. Oh, sorry, today is Monday, I'm sorry. Today is Saturday, right? Guys, come on. The days are very, completely haphazard. Today is Saturday. So maybe by Monday, I would be uploading a few extra documents which would be having the list of the important scientists, their inventions, and the important discoveries, etc., into important instruments and all that. So these things will definitely fetch you a couple of questions. They would surely do. Like this vitamin A, what is the scientific name? This is a simple question. It may be asked. The scientific name of vitamin A, retinol. Retinol. Okay? Sources, fish, carrot, milk, spinach, etc. Function, vision and growth. Diseases, night blindness, xerophthalmia. Xerophthalmia, basically, where you can say the pupil gets hardened. Okay, the pupil gets hardened. Got it? And then the keratinization of the skin gets completely eroded. We have vitamin B1, B2, B3, B5, that is thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and the pantothenic acid. Sources almost same, but functions are quite distinct. Like each of the vitamin B is actually a kind of coenzyme. Coenzyme means which functions or participates in the digestion and absorption of the food or the nutrients. That is why most of us, we have a deficiency of vitamin B and we need the supplements of vitamin B complex. Got it? Due to the lack of vitamin B1, we suffer from beriberi. Then we have the B2, the disease is chelosis, B3, pellagra, and B5 that actually creates the inefficient or inadequate growth. Then guys, B6, that is called the pyridoxine. Pyridoxine, if it is not in the body, it leads to the convulsions. What is convulsions? That is a kind of very difficult condition. When the people actually they start feeling completely stuck. They start feeling completely twisted in the body. The muscles are strained. Convulsions are very difficult and very painful, right? Then B7, biotin. Biotin is very, very essential for your muscle, skin, hair, and mental health. Then B9 is folic acid. Folic acid is essential for the maintenance of blood RBC levels. As we all know that during the pregnancy also the folic acid is provided to all the mothers to maintain the blood levels, okay, particularly the hemoglobin levels. Then guys, we have the B12. The B12 actually causes the pernicious anemia, basically the chronic anemia. Then guys, vitamin BC. Scurvy is caused by vitamin C's deficiency. Deficiency of vitamin D causes the rickets. Rickets is basically the curving of the bones among children, or in the adults it causes osteomalacia, basically the brittleness of the bones. Okay, got it? And weakening of the bones. In the women, due to the lack of calcium and vitamin D, the disease is actually the osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is basically the excessive brittle nature of the bones, which makes the bones very vulnerable to the breakage. Okay. Then guys, vitamin E, it is called as the tocopherol. Okay. Scientific name is already asked in several examinations. Tocopherol is an antioxidant. It is an antioxidant, which means that it prevents the aging. Vitamin C is also an antioxidant that also prevents the aging. Okay. Due to the lack of vitamin E, we have the muscular dystrophy. Guys, this muscular dystrophy is the ultimate state. However, due to the lack of vitamin E, we also face the problems in the reproductive system, right? Then vitamin K, it is called as a phyloquinone. Phyloquinone is helpful for the blood clotting, and if the vitamin K is absent, the blood clotting is not very quick. Then guys, we have the human health and diseases. Particularly, there are different types of diseases, like you can say the viral diseases, then there are the bacterial diseases and all that. So broadly, there are two types. Number one, the infectious or communicable diseases which happen due to the pathogens, which are carried by certain vectors. Okay. Then there are the non-communicable diseases which happen to the individual, mostly because of the genetics or because of the lifestyle or because of some external factor. Okay. So these are the two basic types of categories of the diseases. Apart from that, some other categories are also sometimes mentioned, like the chronic diseases and acute diseases. Example, the chronic kidney disease is a chronic disease. Cardiovascular disease is a chronic disease. But the cough and cold is a kind of acute disease. Malaria is a kind of acute disease. Okay. Similarly, some of the diseases are, since birth. They are since birth, and some of them are acquired over the period of time. Okay. So when we say that something exists from the birth, so we call it as the gestational disease. Gestational disease means we have it since birth, while others are known as the acquired disease, like AIDS, may be gestational or may be acquired. But cancer may not be gestational, may be acquired, or may be later developed. So you can say that there are different kinds of diseases. Some of the diseases are also the degenerative diseases and nutritional diseases. Nutritional diseases means due to the lack of nutrients, these diseases are happening, like scurvy, beriberi, pellagra, etc. Degenerative diseases are basically the diseases which are developed as a condition which completely deplete the quality of the organs and the life system, like arthritis and cardiovascular sclerosis, etc., etc. Okay. So if we talk about the diseases, particularly the infectious or the communicable diseases, got it? So guys, we have the different sources for the communication of the diseases, like the virus and the bacteria, fungus, and the worms. So you can see that the viral diseases are basically four types. Pneumotropic. Pneumotropic means related to the respiratory system. Dermotropic, related to the skin. Viscerotropic, related to the internal organs, blood or liver or heart. Neurotropic means related to the brain or nervous system. Example, polio. The polio or the rabies, these two viruses actually work on the neural system. That neural system is affected. Our nervous system is completely destroyed or ruptured. For example, in case of polio, the motor neurons are completely damaged at the terminal ends. Right. In fact, the entire peripheral nervous system is damaged in one or the other organ in case of polio. Viscerotropic diseases, for example, if you see the yellow fever and dengue, etc., they are actually the viscerotropic. Then we have the dermotropic, like chickenpox, okay, measles, mumps. All these diseases are actually the viral diseases, but happen on the skin. Similarly, the pneumotropic like influenza. Influenza is a kind of viral disease, or ordinary cough and cold is a kind of viral disease which affects our respiratory system. Okay, everyone, apart from that, we have certain bacterial diseases like dysentery, plague, diphtheria, cholera, typhoid, etc. Then we have the fungal diseases like candidiasis or candidiasis. Apart from that, athlete's foot, all these things. Okay, protozoa also causes malaria, amoebiasis, sleeping sickness, kala azar. Okay, and apart from that, the helminthic means the worm diseases. The worm diseases include the ascariasis and filariasis. Okay, what is the filariasis? Guys, filariasis is basically, right, when we say that there is a disease in which one foot of or one leg of the person is affected, usually the gonads and the legs are affected, and they turn into the shape of a yam or maybe an elephant foot. Is right. It is also called as the elephantitis. It is also called as the elephantitis. Remember that. Got it? So we can say that these are very unusual kind of diseases, but they happen due to the worms. All right, everyone. Now, if we talk about other kinds of diseases, right, we come across, for example, some of them. Just a second. Look at this one. These are all the bacterial diseases. You have to just go through this table. What is the name of the disease? Which bacteria causes that? Where does it affect? And just leave that. Leave that. No need to do anything else. Okay. What is the name of the disease? Bubonic plague. Bacteria is Yersinia pestis. Affects the lymph nodes. That is it. Diphtheria, right, caused by the Corynebacterium diphtheriae and affects the larynx, skin, genital passage, etc. Cholera, Vibrio cholerae, intestine. So just first three you have to remember. Rest you don't need to remember. Okay, only these. After that, the viral diseases like common cold, mumps, measles, viral hepatitis, all these, chicken pox, polio, dengue, chikungunya, just a simple one. Okay, guys, so this is what you have to do, and it is merely the reading part which is required now. I don't have anything to do in this reading part. Either I read it or you read it. That is up to you only. But the thing is that this uploaded file, this uploaded PDF, that is very, very essential for all the students to go through completely and holistically. Do not leave that portion which I am marking as important. Okay, remember that. And in the tomorrow's class, we will be talking about the some topics in physics, maybe nuclear reactions, and maybe they ask it, and some topics in the bio, which is pretty much not very common, but they ask it, like scientific names, taxonomical order, categorization of the plant and animal kingdom, these kind of things. Got it? So I have also added the plant diseases as well, even though in the past they have not asked the questions from the plant diseases. So you may simply limit yourself up to this. That's all. Okay, that's all. Apart from that, it is not required. Okay, so guys, it is very, very essential for all my dear students to segregate the subject and the topic which is essential for them to study properly. Like, for example, whatever I told you today, if you go through just that, or whatever I told you in the first lecture, if you go through just that, you may get like 2 to 3 questions, and hopefully these are the only 2 to 3 questions coming from science, not more than that. Okay, so try to save your efforts and save your energy for the subjects which are much more certain than this. Okay, and particularly for the sections which carry the bigger weightage than the GS part. In the GS part, the simple study of or simple knowledge of history, geography, economy, polity will make you sure that you don't miss the cutoff by any chance. But again, when it comes to the English section or the reasoning and the numerical aptitude section, there you need to put a lot more emphasis, a lot more effort, so that you definitely cross the cutoff in those segments. I hope you are getting my point. So it is not that I'm going to say that you have to study everything from my subject because this is something that I'm teaching. No. Even if I'm teaching it myself, still I believe that you understand that this particular subject is hardly 2 to 3 questions worth significance. And therefore, just read very selectively. Whatever I told you, only that much. And whatever I will be teaching you tomorrow, only that much. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay? Nothing more, nothing less. Just rely on these things, and hopefully it clicks. It will be helpful for you. Okay, everybody. So thank you so much. Take care, and see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.